All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're looking at Control Print Limited.
Ah, Control Print.
Yeah, they're based in India,
Okay.
and they're a big player when it comes to coding and marking solutions.
So like barcodes and labels and all that.
Exactly, all that stuff. We've got two main sources today. Their official statement on their Q3 FY25 results,
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of your questions about those results. Some of them are pretty interesting, gotta say.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. It is. So, are you ready to get into the nitty-gritty?
Yeah, let's dive in.
First things first, dividends. Control Print has declared an interim dividend.
Okay.
It's 4 rupees per share, and it's going to be payable on or after January 31st,
Right.
but only to folks who hold shares on the 24th, the record date.
Makes sense.
Dividends can be a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah, they definitely can be. A dividend declaration often signals that a company is pretty confident
Yeah.
about their future performance.
Yeah.
You know, they feel like they've got enough cash flow to reward investors.
Right.
But also still, pursue growth and all those good things.
So I guess the big question is,
Yeah,
does the rest of Control Print's report back that up?
exactly.
Well, one of your questions was all about revenue.
Okay.
How did Q3 FY25 compare to the same period last year? Drum roll, please. Growth.
Always good to hear. How much growth are we talking?
Well over 12% for their standalone revenue.
Oh,
Yeah, they reached over 9,391 lakhs.
that's pretty substantial. What about consolidated revenue?
Even better, almost 12% jump there too.
Nice.
Including all their subsidiaries, their consolidated revenue hit over 27,526 lakhs.
Okay, so we're talking double-digit growth across the board. That's got to have investors feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you would think so. But revenue's only part of the story, right? What about the details?
Right, exactly. Gotta look
Yeah,
beneath
okay.
the surface.
So let's break it down a bit. When you look at their operating revenue specifically,
Mm-hmm.
it shows some pretty solid growth year over year and even compared to last quarter,
So consistent upward trend.
which kind of makes sense when you think about it. The demand for Control Print's products is probably pretty steady. I mean, these coding and marking solutions, they're essential for like every industry these days.
True, you can't really escape a barcode these days.
You really can't.
Yeah.
But one of your questions dug a little deeper.
Oh.
It asked about any changes in profit margins during Q3.
Ah, now that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, profit is key for sure.
It is. And to really understand those profit margins, you got to look at the company's expenses, right?
Right.
So if you look at their total expenses, they've definitely increased year over year.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Revenue outpaced that increase.
So they're spending more,
Yeah.
but making even more than that.
Exactly.
That's good, right?
Yeah, generally a good sign. But, got to break those expenses down a bit further.
Sure.
We see things like cost of materials going up, employee benefits going up, and also other operating costs are up too.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything's gotten so much more expensive lately. Inflation and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just global trends. Control Print themselves, they've been expanding. So those increased expenses could be partly due to that.
Right. They got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, one of the questions on your list was about new products and innovations and how that all played into this quarter's performance.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm really curious about that, especially with their recent move into the Middle East.
Right. They established a wholly owned subsidiary over in the UAE, Sharjah to be specific,
Mm-hmm.
back in January. Control Print, MEAFZE.
It's a mouthful.
It is. Now, their financial statement, it doesn't directly connect the subsidiary to any new product launches or anything, but it's very possible that this new subsidiary is going to play a key role in, getting their innovations out there, introducing them to a bigger global market.
Makes sense. I mean, a whole new region, new products potentially on the horizon.
Uh-huh.
That's a pretty bold move.
It is, but it's totally in line with what they've said before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about, wanting to enhance their global business. Clearly, they're thinking big.
Okay, before we move on, there's just one more thing I wanted to touch on. The employee stock option scheme.
Oh, the ESOS.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's the one that they've proposed. In, the simplest terms, what does this mean for Control Print?
Well, it basically means that employees could become part owners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the ESOS, it allows them to acquire stock options.
Right.
So their interests get tied directly to the company's success.
Right. So if Control Print does well,
Yeah,
their stock value goes up and the employees benefit from that.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
a pretty powerful incentive, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome way to motivate your workforce. But I'm guessing there's got to be more to it than just that, right?
Yeah, I think it also sends a message about Control Print's future plans.
What kind of message? It says they're pretty confident in their growth. You know, if they're offering stock options, they're basically saying, hey, we think these options are going to be worth a lot someday.
Interesting. So, to recap, we've got strong revenue growth.
Yeah.
They're strategically expanding around the globe. And now they're rolling out a pretty sweet incentive program for their employees.
Yeah. Sound like Control Print's hitting on all cylinders right now.
They really do.
Yeah.
What are your initial impressions? Like, what stands out the most to you about their performance this quarter?
Honestly, I'm impressed by how they're managing to balance growth with, careful financial management. Like, yes, their expenses are up, but they're being strategic. They're putting money into the areas that can really fuel future success. And the fact that their revenue growth is outpacing those rising expenses, that's a very positive sign.
I totally agree. But we've only just scratched the surface here. There were a ton of really insightful questions you sent in about Control Print, and we're going to tackle all of those next. So stick around. We'll be right back to dive even deeper into this fascinating company. All right, welcome back. We're still deep diving into Control Print Ltd. I'm ready to tackle more of your awesome questions.
Hit me with them.
Okay, one that I thought was really interesting. How is Control Print adapting to current market trends? It's a pretty crucial question.
It is. The business world is always changing.
Especially for a company like Control Print.
Right. With technology and automation and all that, it's going to be a fast-moving field.
Exactly. Coding and marking, it's constantly evolving.
Totally. So, what's Control Print doing to keep up?
Well, their report doesn't spell it out in detail.
Okay.
But their actions definitely speak volumes.
Oh, like what?
We'll take their expansion into the Middle East, for example.
With that subsidiary in Sharjah.
Exactly. That's not just about, following a trend. It's more
Yeah.
strategic than that.
You think so?
Yeah, that region, the Middle East, it's poised for a ton of growth,
Yeah.
especially in manufacturing and logistics.
Oh, I see. So they're positioning themselves to, ride that wave of growth.
More like be at the forefront of it.
Smart.
Right. You also asked about significant cost changes or maybe operational efficiencies they've implemented in Q3.
Ah, yes. Efficiency. Always a hot topic.
It is. And their numbers do give us some clues.
Oh, like what?
Well, remember how we talked about rising operating expenses?
Yeah.
Particularly for employee benefits?
Uh-huh.
That could actually be a good thing. It might indicate that they're investing strategically in their workforce.
Interesting. How so?
Well, maybe they're doing more training or professional development or even, hiring new talent.
That makes sense if they're gearing up for global expansion. Got to have the right people in place.
Exactly. They need a team that can, execute those ambitious plans.
For sure. Plus, investing in your employees, it often pays off big time in the long run.
Right. It's like an invest-to-grow strategy.
Something like that. A skilled workforce is a huge driver of innovation and productivity, and that can lead to higher profitability down the road.
Okay, here's another question you sent. What impact did global or regional economic conditions have on Control Print's performance? I mean, no company operates in a vacuum, right?
Right. The world's a messy place.
It really is. Inflation, supply chain issues, all that stuff. It's a lot to navigate.
True. So did Control Print's report address those things specifically?
It doesn't, break down the impact of each factor individually.
Okay.
But they do talk about market dynamics and economic conditions, so, they're definitely aware of what's going on.
Yeah, sounds like they're navigating those choppy waters like everyone else.
For sure. But they seem to be doing it pretty well, actually.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Their revenue growth is still strong, which suggests that demand for their products is holding up, despite all this external pressures.
Resilience is important, especially these days. So Control Print's got that going for them, it seems.
Yeah. You also asked about any unexpected challenges they faced in Q3
Uh-huh.
and how they dealt with them. Every business hits a bump in the road sometimes.
That's true. So what about Control Print? Any surprises this quarter?
Well, the report doesn't go into specifics about, unexpected problems or anything,
Okay.
but it does mention managing risks and uncertainties.
Interesting. Sounds like they have a plan in place.
Yeah, it suggests they're being pretty proactive about risk management, not just, reacting to problems as they pop up, but actually anticipating things and trying to head them off.
Always good to be prepared.
Totally. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
One of your questions asked how Control Print's Q3 performance lines up with their annual financial goals.
Right. Are they on track to hit their targets?
Exactly. Now, their report doesn't lay out their annual goals in detail,
Okay.
but they do use a couple of key phrases like sustainable growth and enhancing shareholder value.
Those sound pretty familiar, like standard corporate jargon.
They do, right. But I think they actually offer some valuable insights into Control Print's overall strategy.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean?
Well, sustainable growth, it means more than just like maximizing profits in the short term.
Yeah, I see. It's a longer-term perspective.
Exactly. It's about responsible business practices and building a strong foundation for, continued success down the road.
And enhancing shareholder value. That's all about keeping investors happy.
Right, by delivering strong returns.
Makes sense.
So, based on their Q3 performance, do you think Control Print's on track to meet those goals?
Well, the signs look pretty promising. Strong revenue growth, strategic investments, a focus on operational efficiency.
Yeah.
It's all pointing in the right direction.
It really is. Of course, there are always those external factors that can throw a wrench in things.
True.
But, Control Print seems to be well equipped to handle those uncertainties.
Yeah, they seem to be doing all right.
All right, now for the million-dollar question. What's next for Control Print? What are their expectations for the rest of FY25, given how well Q3 went?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but
Right.
we can definitely look for clues in what they said. And they're sounding pretty optimistic. They use words like confidence and optimism when talking about their future prospects.
But no hard numbers or specific projections.
Not really. But hey, that's pretty standard corporate strategy, right?
Yeah, keep the mystery alive. But honestly, based on what we've seen so far, it's hard not to be excited about Control Print's future.
Agreed. They've shown that they can adapt, innovate, and execute their plans effectively. I'm definitely interested to see what they achieve in the coming quarters. It might be helpful to zoom out a bit here.
Oh, yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Well, we've been focusing on the specifics of Control Print's Q3 results, right?
Uh-huh.
But it might be worthwhile to think about the key highlights, the big takeaways.
Okay, I like that. Big picture thinking. So what would you say are the most impressive achievements from this quarter?
Well, that double-digit revenue growth is a big one.
Oh, for sure. Both standalone and consolidated.
Yep. That's not easy to pull off, especially in today's economic climate.
Right. It shows that they're not just, like, surviving, they're actually thriving. What else would you put on the highlight reel?
Definitely their strategic expansion into the Middle East.
Mm-hmm. With that subsidiary in Sharjah.
Exactly. That's a bold move, and it really shows their commitment to growing on a global scale.
Yeah, they're not afraid to take risks. They're playing the long game.
Absolutely. Oh, and another highlight, their investment in their workforce. Remember those increased expenses for employee benefits?
Yeah,
I think that's a sign that they're prioritizing their employees' growth and development.
I like that. People are the heart of any business, after all.
Very true. Now, one more question from your list really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The one about specific areas or business units that showed remarkable growth or improvement in Q3. I think it's fascinating to zoom in on the engine that's driving this success.
I love that analogy. So, did they reveal any specific standout performers?
The report doesn't break things down by individual business units, but they do emphasize that their core coding and marking segment is still their main revenue generator.
So their bread and butter is, well, still buttering their bread.
Huh, exactly. But they're not resting on their laurels. I'm sure they're exploring new avenues for growth, too.
You think so?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that Middle East expansion, that suggests they're branching out, right? Maybe developing new product lines or specialized solutions for different industries.
Diversification is key. It'll be interesting to see what they unveil in future reports.
Agreed. We've really covered a lot of ground here. Your questions have been fantastic.
They really have. It's been a fascinating deep dive into Control Print's performance.
They're a company to watch, that's for sure. They're growing, they're thinking strategically, and they're building a sustainable future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But hold on, folks, we're not quite done yet.
Oh,
There's still a few more intriguing questions to explore.
got it.
We'll be tackling those in the final part of our deep dive. So stay tuned for even more insights. All right, we're back, ready for the final stretch of our deep dive into Control Print Limited's Q3.
Let's do it. You had a few more questions about their financials and also some about their future strategies.
Right. Okay, this one's about expenses. How's Control Print managing all that, given the current economic climate? It's got to be tough for any company right now.
It is balancing growth with keeping costs under control,
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
Yeah. We talked before about how some of their operating expenses are up, like employee benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like those increases are strategic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, investing in their workforce to support their big expansion plans.
Exactly. Got to spend money to make money, as they say.
They do. And what about those finance costs? Those actually decreased year over year, right?
They did, slightly.
So that means they're managing their debt pretty well, keeping those interest payments down.
Yep. Seems like it.
Yeah.
Their report also mentions operational efficiency and cost optimization quite a bit. So it sounds like they're being really proactive about, managing their expenses carefully. They're not just like throwing money around.
Okay, switching gears a bit, you also asked about Control Print's stock performance. How's the market reacting to these Q3 results?
The stock market. Always an interesting one. We don't have access to like livestock data or anything here,
Right.
but I'd say investors are probably feeling pretty good.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, strong financial performance, ambitious growth plans, all that usually translates into a positive response from the market.
So you're thinking the stock price is likely going up?
I would say so, yeah. But of course, you never really know for sure with the stock market.
Yeah, it's unpredictable.
Mm.
All right, last question. What strategies does Control Print plan to implement moving forward? What's next for them?
The million-dollar question. Well, they don't give us a ton of
I
specifics.
hope so, not.
But there are definitely some clues. They talk a lot about enhancing global business, which makes me think that international expansion is still a top priority.
Makes sense, given their move into the Middle East.
Exactly. They'll probably keep investing in key markets, like the Middle East, and maybe even start exploring some new ones.
So they're going global? What else?
Innovation. They're really emphasizing their commitment to new product development, staying ahead of the curve.
Right, they can't just stand still.
Yeah.
Got to keep innovating to stay competitive.
Totally. And they'll probably use all those investments they've made in their workforce to fuel those innovation efforts.
Yeah, empowering their employees, building a culture of creativity, all that.
Exactly. It's clear they understand that their people are a key asset. You know what else I thought was interesting? The auditor's reports.
Oh yeah, those are included with their financials, right?
Yep. They basically provide an independent assessment of like Control Print's financial health. Make sure everything's on the up and up.
Kind of like a seal of approval from the financial watchdogs.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh yeah.
And in this case, the auditors gave Control Print a clean bill of health. No issues, no concerns.
That's good. It adds even more credibility to their story.
Yeah.
So there you have it. We've looked at Control Print's Q3 performance from every angle. What do you think?
They're doing great. Strong growth, smart strategies, they're committed to sustainability. It's a very positive picture.
I completely agree. It's been a fascinating deep dive. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
We've focused on Control Print within their own industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's always interesting to think about the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah.
How do their results compare to other companies in other sectors? What kind of broader economic trends are shaping things?
That's a great point, putting things into context.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and be sure to check out the show notes for links to the full financial reports if you want to learn more.
Always good to dig deeper.
All right, that's it for our Control Print deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back soon with another company and another set of intriguing questions. Until then, happy diving.